So Lester Martinez does it. He becomes the WBC interim title holder, becoming the first Guatemalan title holder. I put that in asterisks though because this is obviously an interim title, not the full length title. But also, there has been a Guatemalan title holder interim. I forgot his name, but he won the WBA interim featherweight title. So, Lester Martinez isn't the first interim title holder, but he is very, very, very close to becoming truly a world title holder. But hey, us Guatemalans, we're gonna take this. I don't care. We're gonna take it. So it is what it is. Lester Martinez goes ahead and wins the title in I would say, good performance. Nothing mind blowing. He went distance with Emmanuel Alim, who was the best in terms of this part of his career. This was probably the best he ever looked. He was game. He looked he looked buff as hell, and he's in there to fight. He was mostly shelled up most of the fight though. I think in 2 rounds, it was like round 5 and round 11, where he really came out and actually let out his hands throughout a lot of shots. But other than those rounds, he was really at his guard most of the time, a really tight guard. Lester Martinez had to really fight to penetrate that guard. He needed to set up shots. I think he was really excited to try and land that overhand right. He was pretty much spamming that the whole time. Overhand right, overhand right. I guess he was trying to get like a Shoshan James type of knockout, but it is what it is. He was still able to squeak out a decision where well, not squeak out, he got he got a wide decision. I gave Aleem 2 rounds, which was the rounds I mentioned before, round 5 and round 11. Martinez pretty much out punched him throughout the whole fight. However, Martinez did get noticeably tired at the end of the fight. Is it possible that the Mbili fight took a little bit out of him? It's possible. You got to look at it this way. Both guys had really tough fight. You know, a type of fight that they're probably not going to be the same afterwards. And Bailey still hasn't fought since then, while Martinez is right back at it. Now you can probably commend Martinez for doing that, for coming back so not so quickly, but he came back as soon as he can. However, for Billy, you can probably say it's smart because he's over there. He's what's the word? He's healing up. He's not. He's making sure his body is ready when it's ready. He's not going there and getting into another hard fight. Not to say this was a hard fight, but Martinez did want the full 12, and he was taking some shots. He took a big uppercut in the fifth round. And while Billy is resting up, and it's not like Billy's like partying or anything. And Billy is always in the gym, but he's resting up and he's healing up and such. So and Billy could probably, if they were to rematch, and Billy might be much more better off in the rematch. That's what I'm thinking. It'll definitely be a different fight. Most definitely be a different fight. If it's Canelo, come on, man. Canelo. Canelo hasn't been that guy for how many years? Anyone, and Billy Merckx, Canelo, Lester Martinez Merckx, Canelo. Was it like any of these guys can Merck Canelo easy in that? To me, it's not even worth talking about. I want to talk about Billy. Billy in the rematch, in my opinion, has a much better shot of winning. If this was, let's say this was Billy in here, I think Billy probably would have won. Um, he probably would have squeaked a decision win right here. However, later down the line, maybe let's say like end of this year or something, if they were to rematch, again, it's still a 50-50 fight. It's still a 50-50 fight, but I think it would be harder for Leicester to win the decision, in my opinion. I just think in Billy, he's just a hard guy, man. I think and Billy would win the early rounds, a lot of which would get him the decision. But Leicester will beat him up in the late rounds, is what I'm thinking. Um, that's the fight we want to see. I mean, those guys went to war back in September. Those guys, it was a really good fight. Those guys were going back and forth, back and forth. That's the rematch we want to see. Canelo and Billy, whatever, and Billy should destroy Canelo, honestly. And then let's get in Billy versus Lester Martinez too. Simple as that. Let's have it in I don't know. I guess Pro Boxers. I don't know. I don't know who will put up the money. Maybe and Billy's promoter. I have the Tiger. They'll probably have the more money. They'll probably have the most money back to them. So it'll probably be over there in Canada. Either way, that's the fight that we should all be hammering for. Other than that, since Lester Martinez does have a stake in the super middleweight division, how does he look against other guys? I think Munguia and Resendi's winner is also a really good one. I think Munguia right now is actually a worse fighter with Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Reynoso makes fighters so terrible, man. Eddie Reynoso's such a trash trainer. He really is. And I think Munguia, as bad as some people said Munguia was, you know, I think Eddie Reynoso is gonna make him an even worse fighter. All right, just making the qualities that made Munguia good and just making him just a lazy, plotting, one punch at a time type of fighter like that. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not just being smart. That's just making a guy who had really good abilities with like body punching, amazing, amazing stamina and such, just making him a boring fighter. In my opinion, that's not gonna do anything. I think Resendi's. I'll say right now, I think Resendi's gonna beat Munguia. But I won't be surprised too. I won't be surprised. But I think I'll say Resendiz beats Munguia. But either way, Lester Martinez versus the winner, that'd be good as well. Who else is out there? Iglesias. Iglesias is a dangerous fight for anyone. He really is. Because the problem is when you have a fighter who hasn't shown any vulnerabilities, it makes it that much harder to imagine the vulnerabilities. And for Iglesias, we haven't seen those vulnerabilities. We haven't seen those weaknesses just yet. So it just makes it harder to imagine if any of these fighters can. Now, of course they can. Of course they can. We just have to wait and see. We just have to wait and see. He's fighting for the interim. No, no, he's fighting for the vacant IBF title. I don't know who his opponent is, but I think it's like I think it's the next month if I'm not wrong. It's on April. Of course, we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look him out. We're gonna see how he looks. Martinez has a stake in the super middleweight division. Let's see how he goes. Let's see how it goes. Just for this night, though, where I'm happy, and hopefully he doesn't just fall off a cliff after this. Hopefully he rests up, heals up. Let's get that rematch.